in studio with us, we have the CEO of the Habashil Bank. His name is Hirsi Diril, and we'll be talking about the financial sector in Somalia, looking at some of the issues that they are facing and also some of the plans that he has for his bank. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, there are less than 5 banks in Somalia that are licensed by the central bank, and Dahabashil is one of the banks that is licensed. Give us a scenario of how the financial sector is in Somalia as we kick off this interview.
Well, thank you very much for the interview first. First of all, I would like to start with a little bit of background about the banks in Somalia. Somali banks have been nationalized in 1969. Since then, there has been no proper private sector banking. All the bankings there were government-regulated government banks. So the majority of the Somalis are not really well aware of the banking products and not users of banks every day. So the majority, like 2% of the Somali population, is banked. Right now, there are about three banks in Somalia that are working: the Habashil Bank, Salam African Bank, and also First African Bank. Chase is also licensed from Kenya, but they will probably open it within the next 2 to 3 months, from what I know.
And how many people are banked in Somalia?
I would say about 2 to 3%.
Over 10 million population.
Over 10 million population.
Yeah. And looking at currency circulation, I know at the moment the Somali shilling is at about 18,000 to the dollar, and it has appreciated about 25% since the new government came into place. When you're looking at that and looking at the whole issue of the circulation of currency, what is the situation, especially for the local currency?
Somalia had a shilling for a long time. And when Siad Barre, that government collapsed, the shilling was then in chaos since then, actually, because each government that comes in would print new shillings. And there has been many governments that have changed hands over the last 20 years in different, sometimes different names. For example, Puntland would print shillings, and Somalia would print shillings at the same time, and that would flood the market. So that actually kind of affected the circulation and the value of the money. And in the absence of a central bank, there has been no regulation of actually making sure that notes that are counterfeit are removed out of the market. And proper regulations of circulation and making sure that the customers are actually dealing with a market that has a level of...
But has that not undermined investors, when they're looking at the currency, the fact that you can print so much, everyone can print money and there's a lot of counterfeit. Is that undermining investors' opportunities to come into the Somali economy?
It did, and over the past 20 years, investors were very reluctant to come into Somalia because of the security issue, and also because of these the absence of a strong central government and central banks. Right now, there is an internationally recognized Somali government. The Central Bank of Somalia now is open, and they are actually working on reprinting the Somali currency within this year, and we're hoping that would address these issues.
But printing money would require money. Does the government have money to print money?
That's a good question. I heard that the United Nations and IMF are assisting the Somali Central Bank, and these programs are probably carried out internationally by these entities. It's actually a much bigger scale of the Somali government at this point to handle regarding the distribution of the new money and also recollecting of the old currency.
Okay.
So we're hoping that these international entities would execute
But why think of printing new money? Even though the economy is already very dollarized, because the dollar seems to be the main mode of financing in Somalia. Why not continue with the dollar instead of printing new money?
That's a good question. Sure, the economy of Somalia right now is completely dollarized. Out of these Somali states, Somaliland, for example, has a shilling, which is very stable. And the reason that people cannot use dollar is because, for example, if you want to buy something less than of a dollar, if you want to buy a cup of tea, if you want to buy airtime up and have a dollar, you can't carry actually
breaking it down.
Break it down. There's no coins of dollars.
Okay.
So that's why the Somali shilling is really required right now.
Earlier on, when we were having a chat, you mentioned to me that you have 5 branches and that you have some exciting expansion plans that you have for this year. Maybe you could tell us more about that, and also financing for your expansion cost.
Right. Well, the Habshil Group is the biggest financial institution in Somalia. We have been operating in Somalia for the past 40 years. We're present in 144 countries with at least 2,700 offices worldwide. We've opened the bank in 2010 in Djibouti. Currently, we have about 5 branches.
In Somalia?
Two in Djibouti, and one in Somalia, Mogadishu, one in Puntland, and also one in Somaliland, Hargeisa. We are in the process of actually opening about 15 more branches within this year. And we're expanding actually very fast and very quickly.
And how much would this cost? Because I would imagine it comes with a cost.
That's true. It'll be a huge cost. We are estimating about $500,000 of infrastructure and technologies, along with the equipment.
Okay.
And